Are you trying to figure out who you should buy and sell ahead of game week 18? Here are the most popular players people are bringing in and taking out. Let's get into it.
Yo, listen up, Rue is stepping up the game. Where Fantasy Premier League runs in his veins. From transfers to captains, he's always on top. Guiding you through every game week non-stop. They say Rue got that Salah flow. Welcome to the channel, enjoy the show. Wild cards, free hits with so much vibe. If you're hunting for success, then make sure you subscribe.
G'day, mate. Welcome back to the channel. I'm FPL Roo and welcome back to another FPL video. So in today's video, like I said, we're going to be looking at some transfer tips, the players that you should be bringing in or players that you should be selling. First of all, please make sure you do smash a like on this video as it really does help me out, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. I know a lot of you watch and are not subscribed. If you just quickly click that subscribe button, it costs absolutely nothing and it really does help me out. First of all, we'll talk about Richarlison. So massive last couple of games for him. He's really kind of turned his round his Spurs career a little bit, I'd say. 2 goals against Newcastle at home in game week 16 and then a goal against Forest away in game week 17. So he ended up getting 15 points against Newcastle and 9 points against Forest. So really good return. Takes his tally up to 4 goals, 3 assists for the season. And let's not forget, he is a midfielder. He comes in at 6.6 million and his ownership is very low considering he plays for Spurs and he plays number 9 recently, so it's under 2%. And with Spurs fixtures coming up, I think he can be a really good option for managers that are looking for someone around that price point, maybe managers that don't own Son as well. So the fixtures are Everton at home, Brighton away, Bournemouth at home, Man United away, so some really good fixtures in there. Son will also be going off to the Asia Cup in January. So I'm pretty sure his last game is Bournemouth at home on the 1st of January. So really crucial to maybe take out Son around that time point. For me, I will be taking him out. I think there's no point keeping him in if he is going to miss potential 2-3 game weeks. That is probably the likelihood because there is a small winter break in January for Spurs and the Premier League clubs. But back onto Richarlison, I think Richarlison can be an adequate replacement for Son. I think he can. It's tough to say because Son, it does look like he's on penalties now, but I think he can be a cover for Son up until he goes to the Asia Cup and a replacement for Son when he is at the Asia Cup. I think he's playing through the middle now. I can't see him being dropped. Even if Son does come back through the middle, I think Richarlison will play on the left as Brennan Johnson came off with a concussion in the last game. He should be all right, but you just never know with these things. So for me, I think Richarlison is nailed up until Son comes back from the Asia Cup. So you're going to get at least 4, 5, 6 game weeks from him. And he's shown that he can score goals. And in the last 2 game weeks, he's done really well. He's scored a nice header against Forest, scored a nice couple of goals against Newcastle as well. And I think he potentially could be on penalties too when Son does go to the Asia Cup. So that's another thing to factor in. The penalties, they're playing number 9 and he's classified as a midfielder. Let's not forget he's only 6.6 million as well. So a real bargain. And I think he does look like a really good option going forward. You could compare him to other, I guess, like other midfielders around that price point, and I think he's actually up there as one of the best for me personally. It could be a bit of a knee-jerk saying this, but for me, around that price point, I can't really see too many that I feel like they're going to match Richarlison over the next few. Let's look at around that price point. You got Anthony, no chance. Diaby from Villa, minutes risk. Doku, who's injured. Kudos, you could go for, but I think Richarlison's going to be playing up front and he's playing for a better team. I think much rather Richarlison. Matoma's not really an option at the moment. Trossard, too much of a minutes risk. You're struggling for around that price point. You can a bit cheaper. Ward-Prowse, but again, I'd rather have a striker than someone that's taking set pieces and in midfield. I can't see there being too much of another option really. You got Hwang at Wolves, but the fixtures are not great. So for me, I do think Richarlison is the best midfielder you can bring in for that price point, and I would really be considering him if you are looking for a midfielder around the 6.5 to 7 million price point. with these fixtures coming up, with him playing number 9, with him almost nailed and especially nailed when Son does go to the Asia Cup, I think it's a no-brainer to bring in Richarlison if you are looking for a midfield player this game week. The next up, I have gone for Robertson, a little bit of a differential, the Fulham defender. So he has been getting a lot of points over the last few game weeks. So he's been doing really, really well. And so have Fulham, to be honest. So Robertson is 4.4 million. He is 0.6% owned, so virtually no one owns him. And over the last few game weeks, he's been doing really, really well. A couple clean sheets in there, a couple assists as well. In total, 3 assists for the season. There was a part of the season where he missed the game, but I think that was just being rested. I think he is nailed in this team for Fulham. Another thing to note with this pick is he comes off sometimes around the 70th minute, 74th minute, which normally you'd be like, whoa, I'm missing 20 minutes of the game, but absolutely not for a defender. It means they get to bank the clean sheet earlier. So I think that can be a positive for someone like Robertson. Yes, the fixtures are not great for Fulham. They have 2 amazing fixtures. First up, Burnley at home, Bournemouth away. Burnley, we know how bad they've been this season, how many goals they concede. I think Fulham should dispatch of them pretty easily. Bournemouth, tough game. Bournemouth are a completely different side to the way they were last season, so that will be a tough game. But you've got to fancy Fulham with their form at the moment. Then they do run into a couple tough games. So Arsenal at home, Chelsea away, but then they've got Everton at home, Burnley away, Bournemouth at home. So some really, really good fixtures in there. And I think Robertson can be a good part of a defense that has options to rotate. So I wouldn't be relying on him to start every game week. But if I could pick and choose the good fixtures, pick and choose when other players have bad fixtures, try and run a good rotation, I think Robertson can be a good player to bring into your team. Again, this season, there's been a lot of myths, I'd say, about defenses and about clean sheets. I think it is important to pick players that can get attacking returns this season. I think we've seen big teams not keep consistent clean sheets. We've seen more goals being conceded because of the fact that there's been extra time added on more than normal. So defenses are going to have to keep clean sheets for 100 minutes, 110 minutes, rather than just keeping it for 92 minutes, for example, with 90 minutes, 2 minutes added time, 95 minutes. So they've had to keep out the goal a bit longer because of that extra added time. But like I said, with Robertson, he does come off at the 70th minute quite a lot. So that can be a blessing. And who knows, he could get an attacking return. He's got 3 assists already this season. And Fulham are in free scoring form where I think they can actually push on from the last 3 results that they've got and put together a couple wins, especially in the next 2 games and then 2 games after the Arsenal and Chelsea game. But overall, I think he is a good defender, but I'll just make sure I have someone that I can rotate with him. And next up, we'll talk about Kieran Trippier. So a player that was suspended as he got 5 yellow cards for game week 17. He is now 6.9 million and 43.5% owned, so still owned by a lot of people. And at that price, that is a little bit shocking. So I'd say he's had a mixed season. He did start off really, really poorly, but so did Newcastle's fixtures. They had Aston Villa, City away, Liverpool at home, Brighton away. Really, really tough first few fixtures. Only won 1 in the first 4. But after that, their fixture did turn a lot better, and Trippier's form obviously turned better. So blanked in the first 4 games. Then he got 8 against Brentford in game week 5, 18 with 3 assists against Sheffield United in game week 6, 12 in game week 7 against Burnley, 6 in game week 8 against West Ham, 10 against Palace in game week 9, blanked against Wolves in game week 10. Then he got 9 against Arsenal in game week 11. Then he blanked for 2 game weeks, and then he got 12 against Man United in game week 14. And then since then, he blanked against Everton away and Tottenham away. For me, I do understand why some people may be looking to bring him out, but I think ahead of Luton at home and Luton away and Forest at home, there's no way I'll be getting rid of Kieran Trippier, especially with the fact that you might have to take out Salah soon, you might have to take out Son soon because of AFCON and Asia Cup. I think you're going to be wanting to kind of invest in players like Kieran Trippier and spread your money out because I just can't see there's not any midfielders out there that are as of the same value as Son and Salah and deliver the same. You could go for De Bruyne, but we don't know when he's going to be back from his injury. Other than that, there's not really any other options around that price point. So you're going to want to spend that money probably in defense or maybe even attack. But again, attack, there's no Harry Kane. There's no really expensive forwards apart from Haaland. You got Watkins maybe around that 8 to 9 million price point. But for me, you're going to want to spend that money in defense, maybe get Trent, maybe get Trippier. So for me, I would hold on to Trippier at least for the next two and then reevaluate come game week 20, where he does have Liverpool away. He does have City at home. He does have Villa away. So I'd say keep Trent for now for the next two and then reevaluate in game week 20 and look at the options or what are available. Is it time to take out Son and Salah then? And then maybe you might as well keep Trent for them tough games, maybe bench him for a couple of them. But I think wait and see, hold off for now, wait and see in game week 20 and then see how it all unfolds. But for now, yeah, definitely keep Kieran Trippier. So a lot of us are looking to bring in an Aston Villa defender for the next couple game weeks as their fixtures do become really, really good again. A lot of us did bring in Matty Cash last time, and that was a huge disappointment, to be honest. He ended up losing his place, which wasn't ideal. So I think this time it's important to pick a defender that does look more nailed. But at the time, absolutely agree that Matty Cash was nailed and he was attacking and he was getting points and he was scoring goals. But I think this time it's probably safer to go for one of the centre backs. And I think Pau Torres is probably the best one out there. 4.7 million, 6.5% owned. And the fixtures, like I said, do look really, really good for him. Attacking wise, 2 goals this season. So he can get goals, which is ideal. But I don't think he's going to be a player that you're going to rely on to score goals. But it is nice that he has scored a couple this season and he's shown that he can score. But I think the fixtures are really, really key for him. So Sheffield United at home in game week 18, where I'd say a lot of people might be having to use their bench up. So he could be a good player to bring in. As you know, that is near enough a guarantee with how bad Sheffield United have been. Man United away is actually, I don't think, is a bad fixture, which is why I've got it as grey. I'd say it's a medium fixture, just depending on what Man United turn up. We've seen teams go there this season and beat them to 0. Bournemouth beat them 3-0, and I think Aston Villa are a much better team than Bournemouth. So for me, I don't think that's a bad fixture at all. Then they've got Burnley at home, who have been shocking this season, and Everton away, who have picked up a bit of form and could be tough, but I don't think Everton score that many goals. And to be honest, the home games are the games you're going to want to play Pau Torres in. I think he can play in every game, but it's definitely the home games. Sheffield United at home, Burnley at home. Then they've got Newcastle at home, Man United at home. So 2 tough home games there, but I think Villa at home look incredible. They've won 14 or 15 in a row now. I can't actually remember what the number was. I think they look really, really solid. They've kept clean sheets against some big teams too. They've beat Arsenal 1-0. They've beat Man City 1-0. They beat Spurs away from home, but obviously didn't keep a clean sheet in that one. But he did score in that one, Pau Torres. So yes, he can be a threat. I just wouldn't expect got loads of goals and loads of assists for him in terms of like Trippier or Trent numbers. But I think for clean sheets, he does look really, really solid. I think for the odd header, maybe once, twice, 3 times, 4 times more this season, then fair enough. But I think he is a good option, and I think he's the most nailed out of the Aston Villa defence. There is I guess a case to go for Emi Martinez, who is definitely nailed, who's going to get save points, who's keeping clean sheets. But for me, at 5.1 million, I think Pau Torres is probably the slightly better option by going for the defender rather than the goalkeeper, because I think you might want to rest him in certain games, or you might want to bench him in certain games. So for me, yeah, if you are looking for a Aston Villa defender, I would go for Pau Torres at this stage of the season. And next up, we have got the Chelsea right back, Gusto, coming in at 4.1 million and 4.2% owned. So as we all know, Chelsea's fixtures do look really, really good for the few game weeks coming up. So this is actually being recorded before the Chelsea game, as I really did want to get this out as soon as the fixtures finished. And I will be asleep in Australia, so I can't do that straight away. So for me, I think Gusto does look like a really good option now that Reece James is out injured and Cucurella's out injured, and Chilwell's out injured. I think it gives him a chance to play on both sides, or left back and right back. But I think he will play right back. And for me, at that price point with Chelsea's fixtures, I think it is a no-brainer if you are looking for a defender and you're looking for Chelsea cover. So Reece James did go off with a hamstring injury in game week 16, another injury for him, disappointment. I think he's going to be out for at least 2 to 3 months. And yeah, Gusto does look like he will take his place. We've seen it earlier on in the season where Reece James got injured and Gusto did take over, and he did do pretty well. I'd say he only got 2 assists, but he's only started 6 games. So for me, I do feel like Gusto can provide that attacking return as well as covering Chelsea's defense. The only, I guess, issue is he might not be nailed, but for me, I just don't think anyone else in that Chelsea team gives what Gusto can give. And I think the fact that Chilwell and Cucurella are both injured on the left means Colwill will play there. So I think he's a little bit more defensive. So I think they're going to want to go for someone that is more attacking on the right. And I think Gusto is that player. Like I said, Chelsea's fixtures look, yeah, really, really good for the foreseeable future, to be honest. So Wolves away. Wolves are not the easiest team, but yeah, it's better than Man City away. Palace at home, who have a lot of injuries at the moment. Luton away, Fulham at home. So some really, really good fixtures in there. And I think Gusto not only can get a clean sheet with these fixtures, I think his attacking threat does look really, really good. And I think he's probably the best cover for me, apart from Colwell. But he does have the more attacking threat. So for me, I would be looking to get in Gusto. If you are looking for a defender that is 4.1 million, you can afford to bench him when the fixtures become a little bit worse than they are now, and you can afford for him to not play and someone else come off your bench because he is only 4.1 million. So yeah, if you are looking for someone around that price point, I think Gusto is a good player to go for. The next up, I have gone to speak about Julian Alvarez. So he does come in at 7 million, 28.8% owned. And obviously he does blank in game week 18, and Manchester City are off to the Club World Cup, where they will be playing in order to be world champions, as they call it. So I can see why a lot of people are taking him out. For me, though, I think it just depends on what price you bought him for. So personally, I bought him for 6.6 million. So with them fixtures coming up in game week 19, 20, and even further than that, to be honest, I can't see the justification in taking him out and then having to bring him back in for a 4 million, 0.3 million more. I just can't see that happening. I can't see that being a useful transfer for me. I think I would probably bench him in game week 18 and then look to see if he kind of how he does in the Club World Cup, how he does in game week 19, 20, and then maybe take him out if he does lose his place, if De Bruyne does come back. For now, though, with the amount of value I've got locked in him, I wouldn't be taking out Alvarez. If you bought him for 6.9, 6.8 million, then fair enough. I think it's probably a good time to sell because of that blank fixture. Maybe you can go for someone like Solanke. Maybe you can go for someone like Watkins if you don't already. I think if you're using Alvarez to get one of them two, then I think that's a good transfer. If you've already got them two, then I'd probably bench him for this game week and then look at your midfield and see where you can upgrade your midfield. But like I said, the fixtures coming up are incredible. Everton away, Sheffield United at home, Newcastle away, which is tough, Burnley at home, Brentford away, Everton at home, Chelsea at home, Bournemouth away. Incredible up until game week 27. And don't forget, we still got that rearranged fixture, that Brentford fixture to come up. Okay, it might not happen soon, but it's going to happen eventually. And I think you're going to want to keep someone like Alvarez, who does look like he's nailed at the moment. Yes, he hasn't done great. This has been recorded before City played Palace, but he hasn't done great really. Last time he scored, it was in game week 9. So for me, I can see why people are taking him out. But if you do have a lot of value left in him, I would just be holding on if you do have Solanke and Watkins. If you don't have Solanke and Watkins, I think take out Alvarez and get one of them two in. If you have both of them and you've got Alvarez as well, I'd just be benching Alvarez for that game week and reevaluating maybe after the Club World Cup. But yeah, let me know if you have liked this video. Please make sure you do subscribe and let me know what you think on my transfer tips below. And have a good game week. Cheers.